Oh. Again, you want to go?
Oh, okay. Vaksha Kalasvasat Rugna Mahendra Vaha.
Vaksha Kalasvasat Rugna Mahendra Vaha.
Dante Vidambita Katum Jasa Urahasa.
Dante Vidambita Katum Jasa Urahasa.
Saja Suvi Sahavineshati Darahatur.
Saja Suvi Sahavineshati Darahatur.
Vispurjite Dansa Ucharito Daisenye.
Vispurjite Dansa Ucharito Daisenye. Vakshastala Spashat Yugna Mahendra Vaha.
Vakshastala Spashat Yugna Mahendra Vaha.
Dantai Vidambita Kaku Jusa Udahamsam.
Dantai Vidambita Kaku Jusa Udahamsam. Sajjo
Supi Saha Vineshati Darahatur.
Sajjo Supi Saha Vineshati Darahatur. Vispurjitai
Dhanusa Ucharato Disainyai.
Vispurjitai Dhanusa
Vakshastala Mahindra Vaha.
Vakshastala Spashayugna Mahendra Vaha.
Dampita Kaku Jusa Udahasa.
Dante Vidambita Kaku Jusa Udahasa.
Saya Subi Sahavinesyati Darahatur.
Sajo Subi Sahavineshati Darahatur.
Vispurjite Dinasuza Ucharatu Disani.
Vispurjita Dhanusa Ucharato Disainyai. Vakshastala Spashayugna Mahendra Vaha. Dantai Vidambita Kaku Jusa Udahamsam. Sajjo Suvi Sahavineshati Darahatur. Vispurjitai Dhanusa Ucharato Disainyai.
Vakshastala Spasharugna Mahendra Vaha.
Vakshastala Spashayugna Mahendra Vaha.
Dante Vidambita Kakubjusha Udahasam.
Dante Vidambita Kaku Jusa Udahasam.
Sadhyo Subi Sahavineshati Darahatur.
Sadhyo Subi Sahavineshati Darahatur.
Vispurjite Dhanusha Ucharato Disainyai.
Vispurjitai Dhanusa Ucharato Disainyai.
Vakshastala Spasayugna Mahendra Vaha.
Vakshastala Spasayugna Mahendra Vaha.
Dante Vidambita Kaku Jusa Udahasam.
Dante Vidambita Kaku Jusa Udahasam.
Sajjo Suvi Sahavineshati Darahatur.
Sajjo Suvi Sahavineshati Darahatur.
Vispurjite Dhanusa Ucharato Disainyai.
Vispurjite Dhanusa Ucharato Disainyai.
Vakshastala Spasharugna Mahendra Vaha.
Vakshastala Spasharugna Mahendra Vaha.
Dantai Vidambita Kaku Jusa Udahasam.
Dante Vidambita Kaku Jusa Udahasam.
Pasha Ucharato Daitisanye
Vishpurjite Danusha Ucharato Daisanye
Pasha Salas Pasha Yugena Mahendra Vaha
Vaksha Salas Pasayuna Mahendraha
Dante Vidam Vita Katu Busha Udahasham
Dante Vidam Vitaka Sunchisa Udahasham
Shadyo Subhi Shaha Vinesha Kidar Harta
Sadhya Subhi Sahavinesha Kidarahatur
Vishpur Ishtar Danusha Ucharat Todishtane
Vishpurjite Danusha Ucharato Daisanye.
Is everybody? Vakshastala,
Vaksha
chest.
Chest
Sparsha,
Sparsha
touched by.
Touched by
Ragna,
Ragna,
broken.
broken
Maha Indra,
Mahendra,
the king of heaven.
the king of heaven
Vaha,
Vaha,
the conveyor.
the conveyor
Dantai,
Dantai,
by the trunk.
by the trunk
Vidambita,
Vidambita,
illuminated.
illuminated
Kaku, Jushaha,
Saku Jushaha,
all directions thus being served. All directions thus being served.
all directions thus being served.
Udahasam,
Udahasam,
overtaken by laughter.
overtaken by laughter.
Sadhyaha,
Sadhyaha,
within no time.
within no time.
Ashubhehi,
Ashubhi,
by the life.
by the light.
Saha,
Saha,
along with.
along with
Vineshati,
Vineshati,
was killed.
was killed.
Darahatur,
Rahatur,
of the one who kidnapped the wife.
along with the wife.
Vishpurjitahai,
Vishpurjitai,
by the tingling of the bow.
by the tingling of the bow.
Danusha,
Danusha,
bow. Bow.
bow.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Ucharataha,
Ucharataha,
strolling fast.
strolling fast.
Adisanye,
Adisanye,
in the midst of the fighting soldiers of both sides.
in the midst of the fighting soldiers of both sides.
Translation, please repeat. When Ravana was engaged in the battle,
When Ravana was engaged in the battle,
the trunk of the elephant which carried the king of heaven,
the trunk of the elephant which carried the king of heaven,
Indra,
Indra,
broke in pieces,
broke in pieces,
having collided with the chest of Ravana,
having collided with the chest of Ravana,
and he scattered broken parts,
and the scattered broken parts
illuminated all directions.
illuminated all directions.
Ravana therefore felt proud of his prowess,
Ravana therefore felt proud of his prowess,
and began to loiter in the midst of the fighting soldiers,
and began to loiter in the midst of the fighting soldiers,
thinking himself the conqueror of all directions.
thinking himself the conqueror of all directions.
But his laughter,
With his laughter,
overtaken by joy,
overtaken by joy,
along with his very air of life,
along with his very life of life,
suddenly ceased,
suddenly ceased,
with the tingling sound
with the tingling sound
of the bow of Ramachandra,
of the bow of Ramachandra,
the personality of Godhead.
the personality of Godhead.
So I'll just read that one again so we can get an overview. When Ravana was engaged in the battle, the trunk of the elephant which carried the king of heaven, Indra, broke in pieces, having collided with the chest of Ravana, and the scattered broken parts illuminated all directions. But Ravana therefore felt proud of his prowess and began to loiter in the midst of the fighting soldiers, thinking himself the conqueror of all directions. But his laughter, overtaken by joy, along with his very air of life, suddenly ceased with the tinkling sound of the bow of Ramachandra, the personality of Godhead. Ki Jai. Thank you, brother. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki
Jai.
However powerful a living being may be, when he is condemned by God, no one can save him. And similarly, however weak one may be, if he is protected by the Lord, no one can annihilate him. Anybody want to comment on that?
Radha Krishna Mote Ke, Krishna Radhe Ke.
Yeah.
I was just thinking of the image of, like he's loitering in the field, like, I'm undefeatable.
Bathing in His glory.
Yeah, look at me. Yeah.
Bathing in His glory.
It was like, stats showing off that after they scored a touchdown.
I don't want to say anything, but I mean, the arena, political world we're in right now reminds me of that.
What?
I don't want to say anything, but just the political atmosphere that's dominating. Yeah, I'm not going to.
No.
It just seems like that, bathing in the glory. I can do no wrong, I'm supreme, I've defeated all my enemies, imprisoned them all.
Just walking around.
But,
So Prabhu, that Radha Krishna Mote Ke, that means if Krishna wants you to live, no one can kill you. If Krishna wants you to die, no one can save you.
yeah.
And I said that to someone who is not that amenable, not friendly to me, and it snapped their head back because they knew Sanskrit. They said, "Whoa, how'd you know
It's
that?"
like getting hit by an 18-wheeler. Sometimes you see the karmis, it's like, whoa, a sudden realization. Even if they just realize part of what you're saying, it's like, whoa, I've never been hit, but real knowledge, this is really hitting me, really hitting me. Which we pray for that. We pray for that. We pray for that for ourselves as well. Please save all the fallen souls, and Lord, please save me. Please save me also. Please help me to save others by your grace, I was just meditating, I don't know if it was there yesterday, but I was suddenly thinking, I was meditating on the fact that I used to do maintenance work, and I was thinking about, they had what's called a boneyard, they had a chemical yard, they had different departments. And I was just thinking how it's pretty amazing that, for safety's sake, we had all of these barrels of isopropyl alcohol, barrels, so many barrels, maybe 20. I mean, that's really explosive, to consider that. It's outside the building, but we had to deal with everything. Now, here's the thing. They all had to have grounding cables to each one. They had to be grounded to each other. They had to be connected. And then eventually, they're all connected to one other grounded location. And I said, that's just like all of us devotees, and God brothers and devotees, we're connected, and we have to help each other be grounded to Srila Prabhupada. If we're grounded to each other and help each other be grounded to Srila Prabhupada, then of course, we're safe.
That was
because we're connected with Krishna that way.
That was for spark safety.
Spark safety. Isopropyl alcohol, highly explosive, yeah. And but they have that in almost all factories. It's for cleaning and things like that. So if you're dealing with electrical circuitry, different things like that, you've got it around, but you have to be very careful handling it.
So basically you're saying that we're all very explosive personalities.
That too.
You have to be
Well, I'm going
grounded.
to tell you, is it not true? Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but is it not true that I thought I heard somewhere that if you saw the soul rising, it'd be like 10,000 suns rising? Did something?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, if you can see the soul, it's like 10,000 suns rising.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I haven't read that. I forgot where I read it, but you know what I mean?
Well, there's in the explanation of universal form, that's what it says that.
Yeah.
If you could compare it to something, it'd be like 10,000 suns rising at once.
In the Bhagavad Gita, you read that?
Uh-huh.
Nice, thank you.
There's also Shamsunda's
Perfect example of being grounded to one another, helping one another,
Shamsunda's memories, he asked Prabhupada once, have you seen Krishna? And he said, yes. So what does he look like? And then Prabhupada said, you've seen this settling, the settling torch? You can't look at it. It's so bright, it burns your eyes.
They're having for Arjuna and Krishna. Krishna had to give him the eye.
Eyes to see. That's there in the Shri Upanishad. Raman, what is it? How's it go? But please give me the eyes to see past your effulgence.
You know, it may seem inconceivable, you know, but when you mentioned that, I was part of the demolition crew one time, and up from where we're from, probably, up the northern Alabama, Tennessee area.
Well, you're from there. I just have to be there.
So we're not as grounded to each other as we thought, I guess.
I just passed through.
But you know, very interesting, a sailing torch. I mean, it's very powerful, and you can do a lot with it, you know, and you have to get the flame just right, and it's right color blue. Right blue?
Really?
Krishna. Yeah, you gotta get the right color blue. You know about that?
Is that those torches? Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta get it just right, you know what I
Right,
mean?
not oxygen.
Yeah. And but what's interesting is that's exciting, you know, but there's so many levels, you know what I mean? Because you can take an acetylene torch, and you can take, you know, that long metal, and it's called air lancing. And they run all of those long welding rods all the way through there. It might be 8 or 10 feet long welding rods all the way up inside of that, what do they call the electrical conduit? You know what I mean? You run up inside there. And on one end, they hooked up your oxygen, right? Your air at least. I don't know if there's any oxygen there, but they got air blowing through it. So it makes it, what happens is, you take an acetylene torch, and you don't turn on the air yet, but you light the end of that. And so they're all red hot. All those acetylene, all of those welding rods, you know what I mean, are red hot. And then you turn on the air, and that's when the fun begins. You turn on the air, and it blows like a giant Roman candle. And we did most of our demolition at night, so it was like a giant Roman candle. And sparks would just, you know what I mean? You light up the whole area inside the warehouse with that thing. But we had to be covered from head to toe in leather. Head to toe in leather. Because of the danger. So you can cut through, and this is no joke. Talk about amazing. A beam this tall. A beam this thick. I kid you not. A beam of metal. Right? In a matter of minutes.
Wow.
Seriously. We would cut from the top, and it would turn into molten metal. Molten metal. And like a hot knife through butter. And you've seen them in movies too. You've seen air lancing in movies. This really does exist.
Wow.
So selling torch is really amazing. But then like there's many levels. You can carry it even further. You know what I mean? There's so many levels
You
of
have
Krishna.
to wear those like that goggle, right?
Yes. Actually, it's even more than that though, because we had the whole leather head thing. We had all leather, everything, and then we put this over the top, and then you got the welding lenses. But here's what we had. We had probably glass on the outside, and then at least two welding lenses, because it's so glowing. You know what I mean? And all those welding, you know.
Well, what is this then? Is it the alcohol you were talking about?
Well, the funny thing is, the selling torch was just used to light the thing. The selling torch just light it.
Is it a special kind of gas or something?
No, I think that's just probably air coming through there. Because when you blow air in a furnace, it bellows. It increases the temperature and everything. So they blow air through there. I think it's just air. And yeah, it's very dangerous. And we would burn it down to that long. And we're standing like this from the heat. And then when you're up above, it was a demolition. So sometimes you're up on above. It's an aluminum plant, Revere plant in Scottsboro. And so we'd be up above sometimes. And you're melting that hot metal. And when it drops down, and that rain puddles, there's puddles, and it falls into that hot metal, falls into a puddle of water, it is at least as loud as a stick of dynamite.
Wow.
And we're all inside, each person's inside. They trade it out, one person at a time does it, the most dangerous part. And sometimes when that goes off, I mean, fortunately, you can hear it go off, but you're in here too, It's just,
Wow.
yeah. It's an amazing world we're living in, But anyway, so going on to the next verse, I'm just going to read through quickly the Sanskrit. Bhume suritara varuta vimardita yaha klesha vayaya Kalaya Sita Krishna Kesha Jataha Karishati Jananu Palaksha Margaha Karmani Chatma Mahi Mo Pani Bandha Nani. Translation. When the world is overburdened by the fighting strength of kings who have no faith in God, the Lord, just to diminish the distress of the world, descends with his plenary portion. The Lord comes in his original form with his beautiful black hair, and just to expand his transcendental glories, he acts extraordinarily. No one can properly estimate how great he is. Purport. By his divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. This verse is especially describing the appearance of Lord Krishna and his intimate expansion of Lord Baladev. Both Lord Krishna and Lord Baladev are one supreme personality of Godhead. The Lord is omnipotent, and he expands himself in innumerable forms and energies, and the whole unit is known as the one supreme Brahman. Such extensions of the Lord are divided into two divisions, namely personal and differential. The personal expansions are called the Vishnu Tattvas, and differential expansions are called the Jiva Tattvas. And in such expansional activity, Lord Baladev is the first personal expansion of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Vishnu Purana, as well as in the Mahabharata, both Krishna and Baladev are mentioned as having beautiful black hair, even in their advanced age. The Lord is called Anupalaksha Margaha, or in still more technical Vedic terms, Avan Manasha Gopcharaha, one who is never to be seen or realized by the limited sense perception of people in general. In the Bhagavad Gita 7:25, and that verse, just the English part of that verse is, I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them I am covered by my eternal creative potency, Yogamaya. And so the deluded world knows me not, whom unborn and infallible. So, one who is never to be seen or realized by the limited sense perception of the people in general. In the Bhagavad Gita 7:25, it is said by the Lord, Naham Prakasha Sarvasha Yogamaya Samavrita. In other words, he reserves the right of not being exposed to anyone and everyone. Only the bona fide devotees can know him by his specific symptoms, and out of many, many such symptoms, one symptom is mentioned here in this verse, that the Lord is Sita Krishna Kesha, one who is observed always with beautiful black hair. Both Lord Krishna and Lord Baladev have such hair on their heads, and thus even in advanced age, they appeared like young boys, 16 years old. That is a particular symptom of the personality of Godhead. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that although he is the oldest personality among all living entities, he always looks like a new youthful boy. That is a characteristic of a spiritual body. The material body is symptomized by birth, death, old age, and diseases, but the spiritual body is conspicuous by the absence of those symptoms. Living entities who reside in the Vaikuntha Lokas, so I'll read that again. The material body is symptomized by birth, death, old age, and diseases, but the spiritual body is conspicuous by the absence of those symptoms. Living entities who reside in the Vaikuntha Lokas in eternal life and bliss have the same type of spiritual body without being affected by any signs of old age. It was described in the Bhagavatam, Canto 6, that the party of Vishnudutas who came to deliver Ajamil from the clutches of the party of Yamaraj appeared like youthful boys, corroborating the description in this verse. It is ascertained thus that the spiritual bodies in the Vaikuntha Lokas, either by the Lord or the other inhabitants, are completely distinct from material bodies of this world. Therefore, when the Lord descends from that world to this world, he descends in his spiritual body of Atmamaya, or internal potency, without any touch of the Bahiranga Maya, or external material energy. The allegation that the impersonal Brahman appears in this material world by accepting a material body is quite absurd. Therefore, the Lord, when he comes here, has not a material body, but a spiritual body. The impersonal Brahmajyoti is only the glaring effulgence of the body of the Lord, and there is no difference in quality between the body of the Lord and the impersonal ray of the Lord called Brahmajyoti. Now, so that's interesting. The impersonal Brahmajyoti is only the glaring effulgence of the body of the Lord, and there is no difference in quality between the body of the Lord and the impersonal ray of the Lord called Brahmajyoti. Now the question is, why the Lord, who is omnipotent, comes here to diminish the burden created upon the world by the unscrupulous kingly order? Certainly, the Lord does not need to come here personally for such purposes, but he actually descends to exhibit his transcendental activities in order to encourage his personal devotees who want to enjoy life by chanting the glories of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita 9:13-14, and those verses, just in English, are, O son of Pita, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. And the other verse, 14, is, always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. So, Prabhupada's saying here, but he actually descends to exhibit his transcendental activities in order to encourage his pure devotees who want to enjoy life by chanting the glories of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita 13:14, it is stated that the Mahatmas, great devotees of the Lord, take pleasure in chanting of the activities of the Lord. All Vedic literatures are meant for turning one's attention towards the Lord and his transcendental activities. Thus, the activities of the Lord in his dealings with worldly people create a subject matter for discussion by his pure devotees. So Prabhupada says right at the end here, all Vedic literatures are meant for turning one's attention towards the Lord and his transcendental activities. Thus, the activities of the Lord in his dealings with worldly people create a subject matter for discussion by his pure devotees. That's pretty interesting. So, can you imagine a personality who is always famous, maximally famous, forever? Fame. Infinite fame, forever. When in America, we see certain celebrities that are famous for 30 years and still just as famous. I mean, Tom Cruise, Matt Damon, you go on and on. Ben Affleck, so many. And they didn't think they'd last 10 years. I remember there were 3 or 4 of them that said, in 10 years, if we're all still famous, let's get together in Las Vegas and do a toast. 10 years past it. They're right at the top of the game. 20, 30 years. So that's a blessing from the Lord, because fame is not easy to get. And it vanishes just like that. Just vanishes just like that. Will-o'-the-wisp. So imagine that. That's just one quality of fame. Imagine riches, being the richest living entity that there is. That would be God. That's Krishna. For eternity. Always. And yet, he's so amazing because, he prefers forest flower garland to jeweled garland and jewels and crowns and everything. He loves, the peacock feather, and yet he's not that concerned with wearing the most beautiful crown you can imagine. A crown that Krishna would wear, what it would actually look like. He's not concerned with that, So, and that's just 2 of his 6 primary qualities, Just imagine this. So we're attracted. We're attracted to personalities who are famous, rich, and have infinite strength. You know what I mean? Infinite strength. And so he was 7 years old, I believe, right? With his little pinky. He lived to Govardhan Hill. You can't even conceive of that. You can't even conceive of it. Imagine being hit by that. If you're talking to somebody, it's like getting hit with an 18-wheeler. Yeah. He was only 7 years old. You know what I mean? hill. He lifted it up, saved the village for 7 days and nights, and provided nicely for them underneath the hill even, you know. And they were even holding their staffs up to help him hold up the hill, you know. Out of love, you know, they're worried about Krishna. Or did you hold your hand up?
Well, it reminds me of, like, I think it's Krishna book, where Prabhupada says that Krishna looked to go over downhill and he never even had to practice weightlifting.
Yeah.
I love that.
And you know, the funny thing about celebrities is you can go back and look at previous movies or something, you know, and you can see, well, yeah, they're handsome now and they're still good looking, but 20, 30 years ago, like as it mentions here, and many of them have the black hair. You know what I mean? It just seems like the women with the black hair, it seems, and the men, both. There's something about the black hair that, you know what I mean? It
turns white.
Right.
But I mean, you know, when they're younger, they're even more handsome, you know. In other words, yes, even celebrities, they have to die. Their body ages. But not Krishna. I mean, wow. You know, these qualities are just tiny little qualities that we're thinking about. Just we can't begin to understand Krishna. The unlimitedness of Krishna, Krishna even cannot understand the unlimitedness of his unlimitedness. Prabhu said that in the lecture, which is very beautiful. Anybody else want to make a comment?
How much I have to go?
Oh.
That's okay.
Oh,
Don't start anything now.
don't start what? No, I won't.
Okay, problem.
What, Mayapur got a cake for what?
Oh, that's his birthday.
Okay?
Oh, it's your birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mayapur. Happy birthday to you.
May you never
take another bird.
Oh, yeah.
May you never take another bird. May you never take another bird. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama.
Does everybody have an embarrassing picture, like when you were a little child and you put your foot in the cake, you know, or something like that? You know what I mean?
No, I
Yeah,
never,
my son-
never
my
did
son
anything
did that.
embarrassing at all. Never, not one.
Whatever you're doing, take that cake home.
Thank you, Manji. I have a few of them. My son, yeah, he put him on the table, takes a picture,
Yeah.
and then he ends up putting his foot in the cake and everything. You know? But there's my mom signed something on the back of one of her pictures. She took a little black and white. And on the back of it, she was saying the little monster is waiting to anxiously to get into the cake. I was sitting there like, when I was a kid, it's like, seriously, in every picture, it's like, I'm just like, I can't believe I took another birth. This is the last thing I wanted to do, you know. But of course, I didn't know Prabhupada was going to bless us. My life would be meaningless without Srila Prabhupada, you know. Without book distribution, my life is meaningless, you know. And imagine meeting the devotees. Can y'all imagine the first time you met devotees and you realized you made a connection? You know what I mean? Like, whoa, this is real. You know what I mean? It was New Orleans for me when I first met the devotees, you know. And they all wanted to talk to me. It was in a temple room like this. And they were all chanting, and I didn't know how to chant yet or anything, but they would be sitting here, there. And as I just kind of wondered, you know, that person wanted to talk, I'd sit down and listen. And I'd get up and start walking. That person would talk, I'd sit down and listen to them. It was just like everybody wanted to share, you know. I don't know, we all have our own, you know, experiences. But, anybody else want to say anything? I noticed all the flowers are blooming, even the little bitty flowers. You notice that? It looks like we went right on through winter. Looks like it's straight to spring.
It's supposed to possibly freeze tomorrow night.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
I figured something like that would happen. Yeah,
Buds are coming out.
The plants here can take it, they're used to it.
they're used to it.
Yeah.
Wow. Anybody want to say anything inspirational for the rest of us? Any realizations?
Well, I've already said this example before when you're talking about the youthful appearance of Lord Krishna. I've heard this and I've given this many times. I hope it's not too boring. But on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, there was Krishna and Arjuna, Whereas Arjuna, he was showing more his age. The Krishna was still that youthful Navi Yovana, youthful, freshful body of a boy of 16 years old. Even though he had great grandchildren or he had some generations of children like that. And then Prabhupada would make, that's God. He's not some man up in the sky with a long beard, an old man. But this is God. He's always God, like that. He's God when he's on the lap of Muddy Soda. He's God when he's playing with his cowboys. He's God when he's in the battle. He's God when he's dancing with
Well, here's a little dessert. Thank you, Manaji. Here's a little dessert. It's all sweet, so I don't know how you could call it dessert, but it's very sweet. And it's the glories of chapter 12, Bhagavad Gita. It's only 3 pages. I'll make it really quick. Lord Shiva said, it's from Gita Mahatmya, the Padma Purana. Lord Shiva said, I will recite the wonderful glories of the 12th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita before you, dear Parvati. In the south, there is an important holy place by the name of Mayapur, where the temple of the Lord's divine consort Mahalakshmi is situated. Mahalakshmi is continually worshipped by all the demigods. That place is the fulfiller of all desires, and Rudra is also situated there. One day a young prince arrived there. His body was the color of gold. His eyes were very beautiful. His shoulders were very strong, and his chest was broad. His arms were long and strong. When he arrived in Kolbapur, he first went to the lake known as Mani Kanta Tirtha, where he took bath and offered worship to his ancestors. Then he went to the temple of Mahalakshmi, where he offered obeisances and prayed, O Devi, whose heart is full of mercy, who is worshipped throughout the 3 worlds, and who is the giver of all fortune and the mother of creation. All glories to you, O shelter of all living entities, O fulfiller of all desires. You are the wonderful energy of Lord Achyuta, who is maintaining the 3 worlds. You are the supreme goddess, O protector of the devotees. All glories to you. O Devi, it is you who fulfills the desires of the devotees, and it is you who engages them in the service of Lord Achyuta. You are eternal and the deliverer of all fallen souls. All glories unto you. O Devi, for the welfare and protection of the 3 worlds, you take on many forms such as Ambika, Brahmi, Vaishnavi, Maheshwari, Vahari, Mahalakshmi, Narsimhi, Indri, Kumari, Chandika, Lakshmi, Savitri, Chandrakala, Rohini, Parameshwari. All glories unto you, whose glories are unlimited. Kindly be merciful to me. When Mahalakshmi heard those prayers, she became very pleased and said to the prince, O prince, I am very happy with you. Please request any benediction from me according to your heart's desire. The prince said, O mother of the 3 worlds, my father, King Bhadradratha, was performing the famous sacrifice known as Ashvamedha. But before completing the yajna, he died due to disease. And before I was able to complete the Ashvamedha yajna, someone stole the horse that had been traveled all over the world and had been purified for sacrifice. I sent persons in all directions in search of the horse, but they were unable to find it. Then I took permission from the priest to come and pray for your help. And if you are pleased with me, then kindly let me know how I can get back the horse and complete the fire sacrifice, thus fulfilling my father's desire. Mahalakshmi said, O noble prince, by the gate of my temple lives a highly elevated Brahmana, who is known as the name Siddha Samadhi. He can fulfill your desire. When the prince heard those words of Mahalakshmi, he went to the place where Siddha Samadhi lived and offered obeisances to him. After having offered obeisances, he stood before Siddha Samadhi silently with folded hands. Siddha Samadhi then said, You have been sent here by Mother Mahalakshmi, so I will fulfill your desire. Then, chanting some mantras, Siddha Samadhi brought all the demigods before him. The prince saw that all the demigods were standing before Siddha Samadhi, awaiting his instructions. Siddha Samadhi said to those demigods, O Devas, this prince's horse which he had kept ready for sacrifice, was stolen at night by Lord Indra. Kindly bring that horse back now. Immediately the demigods brought the horse before them, and Siddha Samadhi dismissed them. When the prince saw these wonderful happenings, he fell at the feet of Siddha Samadhi and asked, "How have you attained such power, which I have not seen or heard of anyone else possessing? O great sage, kindly hear my request. My father, King Bhagavatam, when beginning the Ashwamedha sacrifice, died unexpectedly, and I kept his body in impure boiled oil. Kindly, if you desire, bring him back to life." Hearing this, Siddha Samadhi gave a little chuckle and said, "Let us go to the place where you have kept your father's body." When they reached that place, Siddha Samadhi took some water in his hand, and while chanting mantras, he sprinkled water on the head of the dead body of King Bhadraratha. As soon as the water touched his head, the king sat up and inquired from Siddha Samadhi, "O great devotee, who are you?" The prince immediately informed his father of all the events which had taken place. When the king heard the narration, he again and again offered his obeisances to Siddha Samadhi and asked him, "What austerities have you performed to attain such divine powers?" Siddha Samadhi replied, "My dear King Bhadraratha, daily I recite the 12th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita." Hearing these words from that great devotee, the king learnt the 12th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita from Siddha Samadhi. In the course of time, both the king and his son attained the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Many other persons have achieved the topmost goal, devotion to Lord Krishna's lotus feet, by daily reciting the 12th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And that's it. Agora all some devotees, glorious, Parpra, Shishigonitai, Shishwara Kanta Ki Jai.
What is your age?
Oh, yeah.
How old is that body?
I think it's 64.
You think?
Yeah, I'm always a year off. I can never get it right. After age 30,
What year were you
I'm
born?
always a year off.
What year were you born?
56.